Welcome to the Stuff About Money podcast. I am Eric, your co-host, and I will be joined by Dr. Matt Morris. You know me as the financial planner and Matt as a family therapist, but we're also entrepreneurs and business owners who face the pressure, the burnout, and the uncertainty that comes with chasing big goals. We work with high performers, executives, business owners, and professionals alike who are trying to succeed without losing their health, their relationships, or their sense of direction in the process. That kind of life takes intention, clear boundaries, and a mindset built for growth. In this series, we discuss the habits, the frameworks, the hard-won lessons that we've picked up along the way, and we continue to live out. Through candid conversations and practical tools, we'll tackle the real challenges driven people face when they want to grow without burning out. Let's rethink success together.
Eric, transitions are inevitable. And they are hard. I look around us and there are transitions just about everywhere I look at the moment. They are hard, but they don't have to derail your life. They don't have to mess up your finances. They don't have to break up your relationships. Whether you are facing a career move or a business move or a leadership shift or even a personal life change, like so many of my clients, the uncertainty of the transition can trigger a ton of second guessing and what ifing.
What ifing?
Today, you and I, in this episode, are going to talk about how to navigate transitions with more clarity and more care and hopefully more success.
You said transitions don't have to derail, but so often they do derail. Emotionally, financially, I think you said it. They are challenging, man. And I think that the key word, as I was thinking through this episode and thinking through this idea of handling transitions. First, let's define this idea of transitions. What are we saying is hard? When I personally, for me, when I think of a transition, my mind immediately goes to the financial space.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I'm thinking about an individual who is working a job and decides that they want to start their own business. Or I'm thinking about an individual business owner who's thinking about selling their business, maybe not transitioning to retirement, but have built this business and now they're ready to sell it. Or the person who's transitioning from working their entire life to retirement. So my mind immediately goes to these I guess they're financial. I say financial transitions, but they're transitions that that immediately touch income and money and finances. And I guess you're probably thinking like divorce, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking about
marriage.
The ones that I more commonly hear about are like developmental changes in life, like the kids are growing up and going away to college, or divorce, marriage. Those are big transitions. Divorce probably is the more difficult one, the more straining one than marriage. Also, the one you mentioned earlier, retirement. But another frequent one I hear about is just people changing jobs. So leaving one place of employment, maybe moving to pursue a different employment.
Yeah, I guess all the transitions that you just described, marriage, divorce, those have a direct impact on money. I guess that's what makes our work so intriguing, is that like money in relationships, right?
Yeah.
They're interconnected in ways that are deep. But I think the key element to all of these transitions, now that we've described a bunch of them, a key element is uncertainty.
Yeah, disruption.
What's that?
Disruption.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's disrupting the normal way of doing things. And we're going to have to come out on the other side, and we don't know what it's going to look like on the other side. We don't know if we're going to make it to the other side. You know, you and I, we're both in the middle of a transition. You talk about college. We got seniors going off to college. That's a transition. That's a transition in their life, seniors. Yeah. And it's a transition in our life as parents. And we're going to have to navigate that. And
one I'm excited about, yes.
I am I am excited, but then also there's the financial side to it is, I don't want a kid to be strapped in financial, debt for the rest of their life. And so it puts not stress, but the uncertainty of, okay, we have to help fund that. But the point is that there is disruption in what has become routine,
Hmm. Yeah.
and there's uncertainty in what's going to happen next. A lot of times that uncertainty is financially related. Am I going to, is this new job going to fulfill whatever I've been missing at this current job?
Yeah.
Is this new business going to be successful? Is this marriage going to last? You know,
Right. Yeah. And all of those things that you're talking about carry an emotional weight too, that keep
mhm.
us up at night, give and preoccupy us and make us obsess or think, consistently and persistently about all the what could be's in those decisions.
Yeah.
There's an emotional weight to transition.
Yeah. And I guess we can measure like are transitions successful or they a failure based off of some metrics. But I wonder if the
Yeah.
success or failure of these transitions is related more to the money side, right? I wasn't financially prepared, or more on the like the people side, like relationally, you know,
Mm.
maybe I wasn't financially prepared and it strained a relationship, or maybe I didn't have enough security in relationship that I'm not asking that question properly. But help me make sense of that.
Well, yeah, I don't know that I think you're making an observation more than a question. The observation is just how intricately related these relationships, our most important relationships are, and our money. We really can't separate those things, especially in trying to chart a different course in our life. That's going to cost. It's going to cost some money. It's going to strain some relationships. I don't. I think that's what you're observing. It's just
Yeah,
we can't separate these things very
yeah.
well. And
Hey,
you're you were you started off with something about trying to measure. Maybe you were talking about measuring the impact. Does it impact finances or relationships more?
maybe I'm not sure. Maybe as we continue talking, I'll have more clarity
Okay.
on it.
Mhm. Let's move on and talk just about. I mean, some typical common reactions to change. I was thinking about transitions that I've witnessed lately. You and I are both big English soccer fans,
Yes, we are.
right? It is 2025 coming down to the wire of the English soccer season, and Liverpool is about to win the title. They have
They
won. They have
won.
wrapped
They
up. They've
won the
wrapped up the
title.
title. But what people may not remember is that last year Liverpool's longtime coach retired,
He did.
and everyone in the soccer world thought, what kind of change is that going to bring to Liverpool? They're bringing in a manager that I had never heard of, and a legend of a manager was leaving.
Hmm.
And look what's happening. They're winning the title. Another
Like
story in
breakaway.
they ran away with the title. And they have 3 losses this season. Another and one loss was to your Blues last weekend.
That's right.
Another big soccer story this year is how the transition of these two American actor owners bought a team in I don't even know what part of the country it's in, like Wales or something,
Wales.
Wrexham,
Wrexham. Hmm.
and have revolutionized this team. And they're moving up in the
Yeah.
promotion status, and it's huge news over across the pond. Huge transition. One of the common reactions to change is just fear and worry. Did we make the right move? Bringing in Arnie Slot, the new manager for
Who?
Liverpool.
Right?
Did we
Who?
make the right move?
Who is this guy?
Right.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty,
Yeah.
fear of regret. Did we make the wrong move? And you can get stuck just thinking about all the options. You can get paralyzed.
I actually find that to be a very common case when it deals with financial decisions, particularly with business owners, is in the process of analyzing what's the best thing to do. They
Mhm.
don't do anything because
Right.
they're just
Yeah.
stuck and they choose not to do anything. So it's like there's no transition, which is oftentimes at their detriment because they don't make fast enough decisions, if
Yeah,
that
there's a
makes sense.
cost. There's a
Yeah.
cost to not moving. Yeah, I see this a lot in marriage counseling or even, even divorce counseling where people are stuck unable to decide if they're going to stick or twist, if they're going to stay or leave. And sometimes that'll go on for a whole year.
Is that
And
is that industry lingo? Stick or twist?
I
Is
heard
that
it recently on a different show, and but you know what I mean.
yeah. Yeah.
There's also though a different kind of reaction than paralysis. There's the reactivity where people just get sort of impulsive.
Don't
They
think it through.
they they've looked at the options and they don't want to have to make a tough decision, so they just go, I'll screw it, I'll hell with it, I'm leaving. And
Yeah.
I hear this, when I'm working with a couple or a client in a session, usually meet with them for like an hour. Over the hour, they may have made 4 or 5 different decisions impulsively. And by the end of it, they don't do, they're not choosing to do anything. But there is that emotional reactivity that happens too. Oh, I'm never mind. I'm done with this. I'm leaving.
I've had that where I'll have you know, conversations with clients a few months later and then they'll tell me what they did. I'm like, you did what? Like, how did, what would you,
How did you?
when did you, like, were you even thinking about that? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah.
It just seems so abrupt with no planning. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's kind of brewing. I think that's what happens. I think a lot of things just we kind of sit on and we kind of brew on it for a while.
Taking up RAM, taking
Yeah.
up space in our mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which impacts relationships,
sure.
right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't be fully present if you're fully preoccupied.
So these transitions are a challenge. They can create a lot of anxiety, which I was talking to a client today, as a matter of fact, and we were talking something similar to this. And his statement was, I'm not going to do this it was a money decision not to do it. I said, yeah, but like spending the money frees you. It frees that decision process. It frees the RAM that how you just described it. So
Mhm.
it would make sense for you to go through with this transition in the business decision that he was going to make, even though it was going to cost money because it was probably going to make him more efficient on the other side. But it was uncertain. How do I know that spending this 500 a month, this 6,000 a year,
Yeah.
is going to translate into it's going to have a justified return in the future?
And it seems like most of the entrepreneurs that I work with will get to that point in their business where they are at their capacity and they have to transition to some sort of an expansion. But to do that takes time and money and effort, and they'll get stuck there from time to time.
Hmm.
So let's talk about we're kind of talking about this three-legged stool. You might think of it as a stability stool, and each leg representing a different part that I think is interesting. Uh, People, purpose, and planning. In the people section, when you're facing these transitions and you're looking out at the possibility of a big stick or twist, a big change, you look at people who is around me to support me. You
Yeah, I would say regarding people, not just who is around to support me, but who does this decision impact? I think all too often we make decisions very egocentrically, like what's the best decision for me? And I'm going to borrow some of your industry lingo here. We're part of a family system. We're
Yeah.
business. We're part of systems,
Yeah.
right? And a decision that I make impacts the system, right? So it could be it could be my wife, my kids, my business partner, employees, if it's a business decision. So I think it's prudent and not just prudent. I think as if you're an entrepreneur, business owner making that decision, I think it's responsible to
Yeah.
account for the impact on others that a decision or a transition that you make. That doesn't mean that like at the end of the day, you're making the decision. You ultimately have to make the call, but I think it's prudent to consider and account for the impact that it has on the community of people that are in your circle.
So in this first leg of the stability stool, as I'm calling it, there's two groups of people. There's the people whose counsel or guidance we might seek.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
might we might look at some other people and go, "Hey, talk with me about this. What do you think about this?" And then there's also that other system of people that are going to be impacted by this decision, and we need to take responsibility for that impact too.
Yeah. And let's put out a pretty important fact. It might be obvious, but there's some transitions that we have no choice but to react to. But then there's
Yeah.
some transitions that we have a runway. We can be proactive in how that transition plays out.
Right.
And I think that's part of actually handling a transition well is taking advantage of that runway to be able to
Yeah,
thoughtfully.
like COVID, changed how I do my work, especially my teaching work. It changed
Mhm.
it overnight. But then over the next subsequent few years, my university got to make the decision about how do we want to work? Do we still want to work
Yeah.
remotely? Do we still, how will we integrate online classes now? So first go round, the decision was sort of foisted on us, but the second go round, we had a runway and we got to be much more thoughtful about it.
Yeah. And the second
Leg of
pillar,
my
not
stool.
pillar,
Uh-huh.
leg of your stool, because I mean a two-leg stool isn't very stable, so we need three legs, is is purpose. And the idea is to connect the decision that you're making with your values and your long-term goals. What's most
Yeah.
important to me? In
Right.
fact, one of our pillars of financial security is to know what's important to you. Before you make any financial decision, you got to know why you're doing what you do. What's driving me? At the end of the day, money is nothing more than a tool. It rarely is the goal for most people. I mean, there's some people that money's the goal, but at the end of the day, money is just the tool that's going to get them to the goal. And what is their purpose? What is their drive? So connecting with that purpose, and sometimes that's hard to sit down and think it through on your own. I think it's important. We go back to this people side. It's important to have people around you who can help draw that out of you or help clarify
Mhm.
that for you. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. So there's the people that we talk about that with, and there's the purpose, the thing we're talking about. What am I really trying to do here? What's really the longer term plan? What are my goals in this? What are my values in this work? The third leg of that stool is planning.
Yeah.
Uh, just to create, where we take the time to create a process for making this decision.
Yeah.
So
The
that,
the the, the planning's probably a little bit more of the technical side, the tactical, like what are the steps in making this decision, especially if you have a runway. If it's a decision of changing jobs,
right.
right? Am I going to make less money for a season? Am I going to make more money? Well, then maybe I need to have a reserve set up in the event I make less. If I'm starting a job, right, or starting a new business, it's prudence in having financing set up just in case, or money saved up just in case. Is this going to impact our monthly budget as a family? So maybe we start making changes in advance. Maybe we start. This is one of my favorite things. Whenever there's a transition coming up, particularly a financial transition, buying a house, paying for college, something that's going to cost me
And for
money,
college.
is start practicing now. So act now as though the transition's already happened.
Yeah.
So there might be 3, 4, 5 months away from me leaving my job or me paying for college, but what would be the financial impact today? And let me start practicing that today,
Yeah.
so that when the change comes, man,
Right.
I can handle it.
Yeah. You're going to need an extra $1,200 a month for that. We'll go ahead and start putting that away. Right.
Yeah. I would also say, my mind keeps coming. I keep thinking about the entrepreneur and the business owner because that's the context of my thinking. Is in the planning process, I'm going to start talking to people who've done this.
Mm.
I'm going to start talking to people who've successfully done this.
Mm-hmm.
I might talk to people who failed doing this. I want to know what they would do different.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's part of, if you want to transition to go well, right? Stability in the transition, it's really going into it eyes wide open, right? I want to try to know everything that I possibly need to know without, going into paralysis like we talked about before, so that I'm prepared.
Yeah. Love it.
And let me kind of lean on again. I'm playing therapist here, not playing therapist, but I'm going back into your space. Is I think that, and you and I, we've talked about this often. We've talked about this in one of the earlier podcasts about work-life balances that exist. What does that look like? There's seasons that are harder than others. Change transition are some of those seasons that are harder. That if we have conversations with the people who will be impacted by it and they understand what's going to happen. So, for example, if I were to go start a new business and I sit down, I'm talking to my family, my wife and kids, and I say,
Mhm.
hey, for the next 6 months, it's going to be really hard. This is what's going to be happening. There might be nights where I can't come home. There might be nights where I'm working. There might
Yeah.
be weekends I might have to travel. If you have that, if you know that in advance, now think about military families about this all the time.
Right.
Like I got a neighbor who I had a lot of military neighbors and they come and go, but it's amazing to me how seemingly well they deal with deployment. They know it's coming.
Hmm.
They know it's finite. They have a timeline
Yeah.
and they get through that transition.
And they're accepting it. Like so much of our difficulty with the transition is when we don't think it should be occurring. We don't think it's fair. We don't think it, we don't agree with it. We don't think it's right. We don't want it. When we get locked in, this shouldn't be this way.
Hmm.
That's a much harder change to deal with than this is how it is. This is our life. And so the military family usually is looking at that deployment as, well, mom or dad's going off to, you know, protect our freedom. Thanks, mom or dad. They're looking at it positively rather than negatively, and that makes a big difference.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's keep on this track and talk about other like sort of mindsets
Okay.
that help frame a more successful navigation through transition. And so one of them is this outlook that this is okay. This is okay, and this is going to be okay. I mean, I remember going into COVID, um, and my wife and I realizing we were going to have to work from home, and the kids were going to have to work from home. I looked at that as okay. That'll be interesting. Let's make sure we all have a workspace. So each of us kind of got busy over the next couple of days just setting up a workspace in the house. We didn't sit there going, oh, I can't believe this is happening. This is the worst thing ever. I can't believe that they're making us stay home. We just looked at it as, well, this is an interesting opportunity for our family. Maybe we'll get to spend more time together, but we're each going to need a workspace. So let's get busy on that. So that sort of, in my world, we would call this meaning making, in which the meaning is not this terrible negative thing is happening to me. When the meaning making is something more like this is an opportunity, this is a chance, this is something interesting, it's always much easier to deal with.
Well, one thing interesting about the way you kind of talked about basing that, and I think that this is true of any transition, any change, is what's the I got to deal with. Okay, this is going to happen. I lost my job. I'm changing jobs. I'm starting a job. Whatever it is, whatever discomfort comes along with change, it is what it is. The sooner I wrap my mind around it, the better. What is the immediate next action that I need to take? Because I can't see maybe what it's going to look like 6 months, a year from down the road, but I can sit down and say, okay, what's the next immediate thing that I need
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll say, what's the first next thing? What's the first next thing I need to do?
Yeah, same idea. Yeah,
Maybe it's make a list. I like lists. So it's make a
yeah.
list. First thing,
And
next thing is make a list, get organized.
and I imagine by doing that, by being actionable, you feel a little bit more at peace knowing that you're doing what you can control to get
You
through.
feel like you have a little bit more power in the moment.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Another mindset to think about is the mindset of desire. Do I actually want this change? Is this something that is this volitional, or is this happening to me? Um,
Well, that ties back to your three-legged stool of purpose,
mhm.
right? If it is volitional, if it is something that I'm making the decision that I'm bringing about myself, you would hope
Yeah,
that it is something that you desire, or you desire
yeah,
the outcome, you desire the other side.
yeah. Like we talked about marriage as a transition, divorce is a transition, but marriage is for the most part, volitional internal transition. It's something we're choosing for us. And divorce is often the opposite of that. It's one person is choosing it and the other
Mm,
one it's reluctantly happening to.
mhm.
Yeah. What is what am I desiring in this moment? And if what's happening to me is so different than my desire, then there's going to be a lot more pain in that.
Yeah, and a way of dealing with that pain might be identifying the next immediate steps.
Right. Let's think about timing as a mindset. Am I in the right flow of this? Am I on pace? Is this the right time? Am I rushing this? Does this feel like I'm being hasty? Does this feel like I'm being impulsive? Or does this feel like I'm not doing anything quick enough, not doing enough? I was watching the Kentucky Derby this weekend and thinking about the pressure that all of those folks feel, all of the horse owners feel to buy horses because you always need a new horse. The the horse that won this year, you probably won't hear of them for many more months. Next year it'll be a whole new crop of horses. They got to have somebody out there buying horses, and so they've got to have a rhythm to their life by which they're making decisions, and they're not getting too hasty, just buying the first horse that looks fast, or they're getting too stalled out. Not excuse the pun, but too
Good.
stalled out where they're not. They're only
Not
left
making a
with the
decision.
leftovers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, timing's an interesting one.
yeah.
Because
You in your world,
you never really know,
right?
right? You never know, is this the right time? And I would always say if you've already identified this as a good change, as a desirable change, then the way I see it is, are you resourced to start moving through it now? Why wait? Now, there could be obviously some important reasons to to wait that are obvious, but I think delaying a decision that you already have made and you've already identified as being a way you're going to go, delaying to me just can create more anxiety,
Right.
more discomfort, more problems.
Yeah, I
But again,
know.
that's not prescriptive advice. So no one listened to this and said, "Oh, Eric just said I should leave my job because I've been thinking about it." That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm assuming that you've done some planning in the process. You've kind of have some next steps
Got some counsel, but
defined.
how many times have you made a decision that you've been stressing over? And as soon as you made the decision, you felt better about it. You felt
Oh,
clearer about it.
almost all the time.
Yeah. There is a lot of angst and suffering in not making the decision.
Hmm. How do you deal with the buyer's remorse? You make the decision, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, that was the wrong decision. But
Mhm.
was it?
Well, that's the funny thing is you'll never know. I mean, this is sometimes what I'll say to clients in these situations is you're you have a path, you have a divergent path in front of you. You can go this way or that way, and you have no idea really what's down those paths. And both seem like good options to you.
Hmm.
You've done your due diligence. You've thought through this, talked through this, whatever you do to make decisions. Eventually, you got to decide. And when you decide, you try to make a commitment not to go back and fantasize about the other decision because
Mm.
that's all it is. It's all fantasy. You don't really know what it would have been like.
Yeah.
There's no
I
way
would,
to know.
yeah, I would say if your decision was rooted in purpose, if it was rooted in what's most important to you and it's moving you towards that, then move on the decision,
Yeah.
right? Like hold that. That's the thing you go back to. And when you have buyer's remorse, you're like, did I make the right decision? You can say, yeah, I did because the job I was working in didn't value me. And now I have more time to spend with my family. And I made a conscious decision that it was worth me possibly making less money for a season because of that,
Yeah.
because family is important to me. That's my purpose.
And once you make that, then you just don't really allow yourself to spend too much time thinking about the other option. You
Yeah.
might remember it, you might reminisce a moment, but you don't get stuck on it. Yeah, you might remember several years ago that I moved my practice from one part of town to another part of town.
I do remember.
And I was looking at a couple of different office buildings and I really liked one, but I ended up choosing the other one. And it fit with where I was going in my practice. It fit with my purpose. I talked to some people. It fit. It was a good the decision I made was a good decision. But man, I did sure like that other building. It had some features that I just really liked. So once in a while, I'll let myself go like, "Ooh, what would it be like to be there?" But I can't. You can't spend too many. You can't spend more than like 3 or 4 minutes doing that
Yeah.
because you'll drive yourself somewhat crazy with your
What's
own
the
imagination.
it's the fantasy that you're talking about.
Right.
Uh, I think that the true one of the top values, I'm not gonna say the true value, one of the top values of working with a financial planner, working with a therapist, is for these transitions, is to help control those
Yeah.
other wandering thoughts, right? Like don't necessarily hire a financial planner because your finances are a mess. Don't necessarily hire a therapist because your relationships are a mess. Although that they can probably help with that. But the idea is, man, like to have almost like a coach, almost like, hey, this is what's important to me. I am retiring. I am selling my business. Whatever. I am fill in your transition and having someone who understands the money side, having someone who
Yeah.
understands the relationship side, the people side.
Who's just seen it, even if they've just seen it 5,000 times, that is
Yeah.
way more information than you currently have access to.
Yeah. That's good.
So it is important to once you decide to live with your decision, it's important to name emotions that you're feeling because emotions will come up. You will have strong emotions. All of us do. Did you know both men and women have emotions?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So just just put a word to what that thing is you're feeling. And
Yeah.
most of the time it's some version of fear, scared. I use different words, angst, worry.
Mm.
You use uncertainty earlier on, but these are all versions of fear. So put words to that thing. And once you put
Yeah.
words around it, it's so much easier to untangle in your own spirit, in your own heart and mind.
I think it's easy. I think it's easy to feel alone. Like I am feeling this way and no one's ever felt this way. And then when you start talking to other people, you realize, no, that's pretty normal to feel that way in the midst of, you know, of
Yeah.
that type of transition.
Well, speaking of normal, transitions are anxiety provoking. You
Hmm.
will experience anxiety. You will lose some sleep.
So it's normal.
In fact, it's probably better to go, oh, I'm making a tough decision. This is a big decision for me. I'm probably not going to sleep great for the next 4 or 5 days. So I might need to monitor my creative energy output or my meeting schedule or something because I know I'm not going to sleep that great.
Mm.
It's normal to feel some anxiety around transitions. And there's something I think that actually we like about that because it is also energizing.
It's exciting,
Mhm.
right? We're talking about the uncertainty, but uncertainty with risk comes potential like reward, tremendous
Yeah,
reward.
sure.
Right? If you have the head of football coach The
Yeah.
stick-to-itiveness is what he used to say. If you have the stick-to-itiveness, the perseverance to work through the
Yeah.
transitions,
The
man,
persistence, the grit.
persistence, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
So,
never quit attitude. No, just there are reasons to quit sometimes, but
and so, since you will be feeling this anxiety, since you will be feeling this excitement and this uncertainty, you can't rush to try to solve it too quickly because in solving it, you'll probably it may not be as thorough a solution as was called for. It may be uh, more superficial.
sounds like I know this is not what we're talking about here, but it sounds like the stages of grief. Like you have to right, you
You
have to
go
like
through it. You
you have
have
to
to
go
go
through it. You
through
have to
it.
experience it. You can't shortcut it.
Yeah.
There's no pill you can take to come out on the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. So there is risk in transition. There's opportunity in transition. There's also emotion in
Mm.
transition.
Hmm.
You you I don't know if you want to talk about this or not. You almost went through a big transition in your own business.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm obviously a financial planner. I also own an insurance agency, and I work with a lot of
What
insurance agency owners.
wait, what do you say you do for work? What do you
What do
tell
I
people?
do? I'm a financial planner,
But you're also an insurance agent.
entrepreneur, have ownership, business partner
Yep.
in another business. Um, and building there's a time I tell business owners this all the time, particularly business owners with multiple businesses. If your businesses are immediately adjacent to each other, then it's kind of cool to have multiple businesses. The challenge is when you have businesses that are not immediately adjacent to each other and you're involved in the actual delivery of the service, it becomes very difficult to successfully maintain multiple businesses, right? And grow multiple businesses and deliver, especially if you have a high level of quality and service that you want to deliver. Right.
Yeah.
So as the financial planning business started to grow, my time on the insurance side was less and less that I could give to like the leadership of it. And I wasn't involved in the actual delivery of the product or service, but just in the leadership of it. And then things like COVID and hurricanes and living on the Gulf Coast and the anxiety of storms that come through. And even though I'm not involved in the day to day, there's that emotion that goes with it.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of clients and friends who were selling their agencies, and there was the idea of like, man, maybe this is time, maybe it's time to explore this idea. So I went through the whole never sold it, but went through the whole process, right? Even as we discussed it, like who does this impact, right? This impacts my business partner, this impacts our employees, this impacts it's kind of a family business. It impacts my mom and dad who are still fairly active in the business.
Yeah.
There's a whole slew of people that it impact. So thinking through, man, how does that impact them if I make this decision?
Yeah.
And then there's money, right? There's income. Well, there's distributions that come from this business. How does that impact me financially and whatnot? So just kind of walking through and thinking through pretty much how we discussed it here was the thought process.
Yeah. What were do you remember some specific emotions you felt during that process? Because I remember you some days being very excited about the prospect and some days being very
Yeah.
like introspective about it. Like you care about people and we're caring about people in this decision.
Yeah. I think just you described it. It was the emotions, the every possible emotion that you could feel. I felt it. There's an excitement of, okay, this is cool. I'm going to sell a business. Right? As an entrepreneur, you build a business, you want to sell a business. There's that excitement of entrepreneurship, right? There's the excitement of saying, oh man, if I only had one set of problems to solve, how much easier would that be than having two sets of problems to
Yeah.
solve?
So somewhat
Right?
overwhelmed in the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. But then there was the excitement of, man, the cool thing about owning a business is you can provide work for people, right? And we, we have an amazing team. They have a high level of just customer service, and they care about people deeply. I'm like, man, like, what happens to those? What happens to clients,
Yeah.
right? If depending on the direction it went. So there's a lot of emotion, of excitement, and then fear. Like, man, like I know what it's like to operate this business, to own this business, and if I don't have it, like, can I replace the lost income in? And it probably, here's what's crazy: 10% of my time, if even, 10%, probably in the leadership, administrative side, the business side of it. That's my time. 10% is probably on that business. So 90% of my time, the vast majority of my time, is on this side of the business. However, there was a
The
mental,
financial planning side.
yes, on the financial planning side, there was a mental load
Yeah.
that probably was not so much today, but at that time, there was a mental load was disproportionate to the actual amount of physical time it took. The emotional cost was far more than the physical time cost.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though you were spending 10% of your time, it was something much higher than that emotionally.
Yeah. So even though we didn't go through the transition, the entire process, up until the end, right? Having conversations
How
with
much
potential.
how much did you communicate about this possible decision with your team, with your family? You talked about it with me. So your
Yeah.
friends, thanks, bud. Thanks. But how much did you communicate with your people?
Um, Key members of my people I had
Mhm.
conversations with. Um, and then after the fact, it was discussed. But key members, I spoke not all the specifics and not all the details, but certainly the
But it
key
was
the key
looming, that it
players.
was, yeah. What about
Yeah.
your family?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the conversation with family was, you'll make the right decision. It wasn't helpful in the sense of, like, the most helpful conversations were with other business owners,
Okay.
with people who had been through it, who understood the pros and the cons.
Well, what were the differences that you noticed when communicating with somebody who, like myself, was an innocent bystander versus like a person who had a vested interest, a partner employee?
The conversations were very different. I would talk to you or another business owner on a different level of the
Yeah.
process. If that, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can imagine it. Yeah.
Like, I could speak. Um, there was a relatability when you talk to a business owner or another entrepreneur about some of the emotions, but talking to key employees, they might not be able to relate to certain aspects
Yeah.
of the conversation, of the decision making process.
So thinking about communicating this at the right
Hmm.
time to the
Yeah.
right people and that you're going to get different responses seems important.
Yeah, there was definitely a recognition that I want to be careful as I go through this process in terms of how much I disclose. Not because you're trying to be, like, not transparent, but, like, if it's creating this much anxiety, I say anxiety, if it's creating this much just kind of like emotional weight for me, burden for me, man, what kind of burden does that place on someone who works in the business, who is in the dark of the decision making process?
Yeah.
That there's a certain responsibility and obligation. Look, I get, a lot of the decision was made absent of my need first. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not trying to sound super, altruistic or anything, but, like, there's a direct impact on other people, and we have, our employees are thriving, and I enjoy to see them thrive. And it was a learning process for me, from the standpoint of, maybe there's something in me that I have to change. Maybe I'm carrying too much of the emotional weight, and I'm not trusting my
Mm,
staff enough,
mm, mhm.
right? But I didn't want to export my anxiety or burden onto them when they're not in a position to carry it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you can't control how people react to your decision or even to your communication. Can't control how they react, but you can control the information you share with them. You can control how much you involve them. In your words, you can control if you projected anxiety onto them.
Hmm.
You do have some authority in this side of the communication process, me to you.
Yeah, and I think that this is, I think, the sixth episode in this series. But I think this kind of captures the burden of leadership. A lot of stuff that we've been talking about over the past six episodes about decision making
Mm-hmm.
and the those types of things. That there's a burden. I say burden, that has a negative connotation, but there's a weight. There's a weightiness to leadership. And as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as people who are effective in business, it's so important to be surrounded by people who understand that and can relate to that and can help normalize it and can help coach us out of it, help
Yeah.
guide us out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I have you. We've over the years had lots of conversations about our own work and our own businesses. And because we're not directly related in each other's work, we can be a more just supportive ear.
Yeah, a supportive ear, and but also words of like truth telling.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know if that's a great idea,
Yeah.
right? Uh, you might want to think that one through again, right? There's no, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, a little more objective. And we're friends. We trust each other. We like each other. So a little bit more of objective reality check with each other.
neither of us are trying to win favor with the other,
Mhm.
right? So there's a level of like
Yeah.
um, security in
We already
knowing
have
that,
it. We already have favors, so we don't have to
yeah, yeah.
keep winning it.
But I know this is transitions. We could probably do. You could probably have an entire podcast series on different types of transitions, and I know that we've talked a lot about a lot of different transitions. But I think that what we wanted to try to do in this episode is capture the core, right? That the commonality across all transitions, and I think that we did that. But if you want some additional questions to kind of think through your own transitions, financial transitions, relational transitions, we're going to provide some additional questions for you to think through it. And again, it'll be kind of those questions that I think kind of cut through multiple types of uh, um, of transitions.
Yeah. Yeah. Give you something to think about.
Yeah. Hey, y'all, if you find value in this, share this with one person, share this with an entrepreneur, a business owner, a professional, someone who is thinking through transitions. Matt and I, as business owners, as parents, as husbands, we've gone through a lot of different transitions, and we're here to help people. Matt clearly has his expertise, and I clearly have my expertise. But we are here to help people make good decisions that protect relationships, that
Yep.
protect finances, because we want to see people thrive. We want to see people flourish. So we appreciate you for leaning in into this this series on
Yeah.
leadership.
Thanks.